Before we start, quick note, this episode is educational. I'm not diagnosing, prescribing, or replacing your doctor. I'm asking better questions. And honestly, that's where real health starts. Welcome back. If you've been listening for a while, I'm really glad you're here. And if you're new, welcome. You picked an interesting place to start. This space exists for people who are done being told they're fine, while quietly feeling exhausted, foggy, or off in ways they can't explain. We talk about health differently here. We ask better questions. We connect patterns before symptoms turn into diagnoses. Today's episode is one of those conversations that might challenge how you've been thinking. Not to scare you, but to wake up a little more awareness. So let's get into it. Is food the leading cause of death in the United States? I want to start with a simple fact. Heart disease is the number one cause of death in the United States. Cancer is number two. Diabetes, Alzheimer's, stroke, all climbing. Now, here's the part we almost never say out loud. Food does not appear anywhere on that list, and yet food is involved in every single one of them. So today, I want to ask a question most people avoid. Is food the leading cause of death in the United States? Not in a dramatic way, not in a clickbait way, in a slow, quiet, socially acceptable way. Here's why this question matters. We only count what kills loudly. We count heart attacks. We count cancer. We count organ failure. But we rarely count what built the conditions for those outcomes. We confuse the final event with the root cause. And that mistake shapes how we think about health and how late we intervene. So today, I want to ask a question that makes people deeply uncomfortable, including doctors, food companies, and maybe you. Is food the leading cause of death in the US? Not in a dramatic conspiracy theory way, not in a never eat bread again way, in a slow, boring, daily, normalized way. Because nobody dies of a donut. They die of heart disease or cancer or metabolic breakdown, and food quietly sits in the background, untouched. The reframe. Let me reframe this. No one ever died of smoking. They died of lung cancer. They died of heart disease. They died of emphysema. Smoking didn't show up on the death certificate, but no one argues whether it mattered. Food is treated very differently, even when it's doing the same kind of slow, cumulative damage. Even when it shapes inflammation, hormones, blood sugar, the gut, the brain, because food feels personal, and personal things are harder to question. Here's the problem with how we talk about death in this country. We list diseases as causes, but we rarely talk about drivers. We don't ask what fed the disease, what built the environment for it. What did the body deal with for 10, 20, 30 years before diagnosis? Because if we asked that honestly, we'd have to talk about food quality, processing, blood sugar, inflammation, gut health, and chemical exposure. And that conversation doesn't fit neatly into a 10-minute doctor visit. So instead of asking, is food the leading cause of death? I think a better question is this. What role does food play in creating the conditions that lead to the top causes of death? Because that question changes everything. It shifts us from what do I have to what have I been dealing with for years? Why this makes people uncomfortable. This conversation makes people defensive, not because it's wrong, but because if food matters, then symptoms aren't random. Fatigue isn't just stress. Joint pain isn't just aging. Brain fog isn't just burnout. Weight gain isn't just willpower. The body is responding to inputs, and food is the most frequent input we give it. And before your brain goes there, no, this is not about fault. You didn't design the food system. You didn't invent ultra-processed food. You didn't create marketing that tells us sugar cereal is heart healthy. Most people are doing the best they can with the information they were given. The problem isn't ignorance. The problem is normalization. This is not about blame. This is not about willpower. This is not about perfection. Most people are eating exactly how they were taught to eat. The issue isn't food as nourishment, the issue is food as an industrial product. We live in a system where shelf life matters more than human metabolism, convenience matters more than blood sugar, marketing matters more than nutrient density, and we call the symptoms aging. That's the part I have a problem with, the normalization problem. We normalize what we survive until we can't. And by the time the body breaks down enough to earn a diagnosis, the conversation gets very narrow. Now it's about medication, procedures, management, not prevention, not patterns, and not inputs. And here's the question I wish more people asked before diagnosis: what inputs has my body been dealing with every single day? Not just food quantity, food quality, because your body is not confused. It's responding exactly as designed. Here's the real issue: most people aren't eating terribly. They're eating normally, normally processed, normally packaged, normally rushed, normally marketed, normally depleted. And when symptoms show up, we call it aging. We call it genetics. We call it bad luck. What we don't call it is predictable. Food doesn't usually kill loudly. It kills quietly. It shows up as fatigue, you're told is normal, joint pain, you're told is aging, brain fog, you're told is stress, weight gain, you're told is your fault, until one day it has a name: heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune disease, cancer, and then we act shocked. So, no, food isn't killing people overnight. It's not dramatic. It's not newsworthy. It's repetitive. It's quiet, and it's happening every single day. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. I want to pause here for just a moment, because if this conversation is hitting something for you, that's not accidental. Most people don't need another diet. They need help connecting the dots. That's exactly why I created Vitality Catalyst. It's not about fixing your body. It's about learning how to read it before symptoms become diagnoses. If you've been told you're fine, but you don't feel fine, this is for you. I'll put the link in the show notes. Now let's talk about what you can start noticing immediately. The line that changes everything. We normalize what we survive until we can't. By the time the body breaks down enough to earn a diagnosis, the conversation gets very small. Now it's about medication, management, procedures, not patterns, not prevention, not what the body has been dealing with for decades. So, no, food isn't killing people overnight. It's not dramatic. It's not newsworthy. It's repetitive. It's quiet, and it's happening every single day. And once you see that beat, you can't unsee it. Actionable takeaways. So, what do we do with this? Not supplements, not perfection, not fear, just awareness. Takeaway number one: observe before you fix. The first step is not change, the first step is observation. For 3 days, I want you to write down everything you eat and drink, not to judge it, not to improve it, not to clean it up, just to see it. Most people skip this step because they're afraid of what they'll find. But patterns don't need discipline, they need honesty. And honesty creates clarity faster than willpower ever will. You don't need a perfect diet to understand your body. You need data. Takeaway number two: read the label like a detective. The second step is curiosity. Flip the package over, not the marketing, the label. If there are more than 5 ingredients, pause. If sugar shows up under 3 different names, pause. If you wouldn't cook with it, touch it, or recognize it, that's information, not guilt. Information is power when you're not using it to punish yourself. Takeaway number three: eat, then stop. This one surprises people. Most bodies are exhausted, not because of what they eat, but because they never get a break. We snack, we graze, we eat standing up, scrolling, driving. Digestion is work. And your body can't repair while it's constantly processing. Try this experiment: eat your meal, then stop. Let your body finish one job before starting another. Energy, clarity, and hunger cues will teach you more than any app ever could. Here's what I know after doing this work for years: awareness is powerful. And it's also where most people stop, because seeing patterns is one thing, knowing what to do with them is another. That's the gap Vitality Catalyst was built to fill. It's where we take observations like the ones you just heard and turn them into clarity, confidence, and next steps. No extremes, no overwhelm, just support that meets you where you are. If you're ready to stop guessing and start understanding your body, the link is waiting for you. Let's close this out. The shift from awareness to agency. So let's come back to the original question. Is food the leading cause of death in the United States? I don't think that question actually serves us, because it keeps us stuck in debate instead of action. A better question is this: what role does food play in creating the conditions that lead to the top causes of death? That question doesn't blame, it doesn't shame, it doesn't demand perfection. It restores agency. Because when you understand the inputs, you can influence the outcomes. Not overnight, but meaningfully. Close. Here's what I want you to hear clearly: your body is not broken, it's responding to years of inputs, quietly, consistently, exactly as designed. Doing nothing is still a decision. And waiting until something has a diagnosis limits your options. That's why I built Vitality Catalyst. Not as a diet, not as a quick fix, and definitely not as another thing to manage, but as a place to learn how to read your body before it has to scream, to connect patterns, to ask better questions, to build energy, clarity, and resilience on purpose. If this episode made you uncomfortable, curious, or quietly reflective, that's your signal. You don't need more information. You need guidance, structure, and support. You can find that inside Vitality Catalyst. The link is in the show notes, because your future health isn't accidental. It's being written one decision at a time. And today counts. Before you go, I want to say thank you. Thank you for spending your time here. Thank you for listening with curiosity instead of defensiveness. And thank you for being willing to question what we've all been taught to normalize. If this episode resonated with you, the simplest way to support this work is to stay connected. Make sure you're subscribed. Follow the show so you don't miss future conversations. And if you're listening on a platform where you can rate or review, that genuinely helps this reach people who need it. You can also share this episode with someone who keeps being told they're fine, but knows they're not. I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you next time. Be well.